This video is all about the words parallel and perpendicular. As you can see, the handles on these drawers are all lined up and they're never going to meet. They're exactly the same distance apart over here as they are over here. And in fact, if the handles carried on forever and ever and ever, they would still be the same distance apart wherever you go. So that means that those handles are what we call parallel. This handle is parallel to this handle. And in fact, it's parallel to the handle down at the bottom and also to the handle up at the top. Okay, all those are parallel. In fact, also parallel to these handles over here. Doesn't matter where they are, they're never going to meet the handles over here. They all travel in the same direction, so they're all parallel, they're all the same distance between them. They've all got the same distance between them. So they're parallel. Now instead of writing parallel on a bunch of lines, we can use this arrow symbol. And this arrow symbol says the same thing, that these two lines are parallel. And I can put another one up at the top and another one down at the bottom. Okay, those lines are parallel to each other. So we can put an arrow, just one arrow is fine. Now we've got some other parallel lines going on as well. We've got this line down here is parallel to this line down there. So they're also parallel to each other. Okay, now what I could do is put arrows on those as well. I could put an arrow, but if I put a single arrow there and another single arrow on the left hand side, that gets a little bit confusing. It gets confusing because actually we're trying to match up all the single arrows and saying that they're parallel. And if we say that they're parallel to these, well clearly they're not. This line here is not parallel to this line here. So what we need to do is change this from a single arrow to a double arrow, and this one here also to a double arrow. Okay, so we've got this line being parallel to this line, and we've got these four lines being parallel to each other but not parallel to the down ones, to the vertical ones. Okay, does it matter if I turn the arrows pointing upwards? No, it doesn't, but they both should be travelling in the same direction, so I'll make them both point upwards. But upwards or downwards, it's okay. Should I make these point left or right? No, it doesn't matter, but if I change one of them, then I need to change all of them. So I won't, I'll just leave it like that. Does it matter if I turn the arrow that way, going across the line? Yes, it does. The arrows need to travel in the direction that the line is travelling in. Okay, so again, I couldn't put this facing, forget it. I can't put this one facing upwards like that. Okay, it's got to be travelling with the line, so it needs to go like that. Okay, so they're parallel to each other. There's another one over here that's also parallel to the original one. And remember, parallel means that they're never going to meet. They stay the same distance apart. So even if the lines were to carry on all the way up to the top or all the way down into the ground, those lines would stay the same distance apart. Now let's look at the word perpendicular. Perpendicular is when two lines meet at 90 degrees. So let's see, can you see some right angles here? Can you see a right angle there? That line there and that line there, they meet at 90 degrees. So we call those lines perpendicular. They meet at 90 degrees. Okay, there's a right angle there. And instead of writing the word perpendicular or right angle in that corner, have you seen the right angle symbol before? You probably have. It's a little L shape that completes a sort of square there. So there's a right angle. You want to see another right angle? We've got one there. These two lines are perpendicular. There's another one here, or over here. In fact, there's lots of perpendicular lines in the world, especially in the man-made world. You'll see them in windows and doors. You'll see them in all sorts of places. Let's see if I can find some more for you. Here's a chopping board. Can you see the right angles on the chopping board? Up here in the corner. This line here at the top is perpendicular to this line here. Down in the bottom corner, this line here is perpendicular to this line here. But can you also see some parallel lines? Yeah, all those colourful lines, they're all parallel. There are loads and loads. I'd need loads of these little arrows. These are all parallel to each other. They're never going to meet. They stay the same distance apart. So even if, let's take this green line here, if it carried on forever and ever in that direction, or forever and ever in this direction, it will never ever meet this yellow or this thin brown line or any of these other lines. Okay? The corners of the light switch form a 90-degree angle, so they're perpendicular to each other. How many right angles and perpendicular lines can you see in this image? And how many parallel lines can you see here? Can you see parallel lines and perpendicular lines in these paving stones? And what about in these bricks? Loads and loads of parallel lines and perpendicular lines there. Are those two shelves parallel? What about the trellis? How about the slats in these garden chairs or in this garden table? Any parallel or perpendicular lines there? And what about the spokes in these wheels? Are they parallel? Are they perpendicular? What do you think?